The station was loud and crowded. Beings of all shapes and sizes walked through the metal corridors. Some had fur, some had scales, and some had things that Park Ji-woo could not even describe. He had been traveling through space for 3 years now, hauling cargo from one station to another. It was not exciting work, but it paid well enough. And he liked the quiet of space. Ji-woo was hungry. His ship had run out of fresh food 2 days ago, and he had been eating nothing but dried noodles. So when he saw a small cantina with a sign that showed a bowl of something hot, he walked inside without thinking twice. The cantina was full of aliens. They sat at round tables, drinking strange colored liquids and eating foods that Ji-woo did not recognize. He found an empty seat in the corner and ordered whatever the waiter recommended. It turned out to be some kind of soup with thick noodles and chunks of meat. He did not ask what animal the meat came from. Some questions were better left unanswered. He was halfway through his meal when everything changed. The door of the cantina opened, and the room went silent. Every conversation stopped. Every spoon and fork froze in the air. Ji-woo looked up, curious about what had caused such a reaction. A woman walked in. At least, Ji-woo thought she was a woman. She was tall, taller than any human he had ever seen. Her skin was covered in smooth black scales that shined under the yellow lights. She had 4 arms, 2 on each side, and her eyes glowed a soft amber color. She wore armor that looked old and worn, with scratches and marks that told stories of many battles. She was beautiful in a dangerous way, like a storm or a fire. The aliens in the cantina began to move, but they were not moving toward her. They were running away from her. Tables were knocked over. Drinks spilled on the floor. Within seconds, the cantina was almost empty. The waiter hid behind the counter. The cook disappeared into the kitchen. Ji-woo watched all of this with mild interest. Then he looked down at his soup. It was still warm. It would be a waste to leave it, so he kept eating. The woman noticed him, her glowing eyes fixed on him, and she tilted her head like a predator studying something strange. She walked toward him. Her 4 arms relaxed at her sides. Each step she took was slow and deliberate. She stopped at his table and looked down at him. Ji-woo looked up at her and gave a small nod. "Hello," he said. The woman did not respond. She pulled out a chair and sat down across from him. The chair creaked under her weight. Her scales caught the light and sparkled like black diamonds. "You did not run," she said. Her voice was deep and smooth, like water flowing over rocks. "No," Ji-woo agreed. He took another bite of his noodles. "Why?" Ji-woo thought about it for a moment. "I was hungry," he said honestly. "And this soup is pretty good." The woman stared at him. Her amber eyes did not blink. Ji-woo noticed that her pupils were vertical, like a cat's. "Do you know who I am?" she asked. "No," Ji-woo admitted. "Should I?" Something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or confusion. She leaned back in her chair and crossed 2 of her arms over her chest. The other 2 rested on the table. "I am Vera," she said, "of the Kethra." Ji-woo nodded politely. The name meant nothing to him. He had heard of many alien species in his travels, but he could not remember them all. There were too many. "I am Ji-woo," he said. "Of Earth." "Human," Vera said. It was not a question. "Yes." She studied him more closely now. Her eyes moved over his face, his hands, his body. Ji-woo felt like he was being examined by a doctor, or maybe a hunter deciding if prey was worth chasing. "Humans are small," she said. "That is true," Ji-woo agreed. He was not offended. It was simply a fact. "Yet you sit here, eating your soup, while everyone else has fled in terror." Ji-woo shrugged. "Like I said, I was hungry." Vera made a sound that might have been a laugh. Or maybe a growl. Ji-woo could not tell. "Everyone is afraid of me," she said slowly. "But why aren't you afraid of me, human?" Ji-woo put down his spoon and thought about the question seriously. It seemed important to her. He could see it in the way she leaned forward, waiting for his answer. I don't know enough about you to be afraid, he said finally. You haven't done anything to hurt me. You just sat down at my table. That's not scary. That's just sitting. Vera blinked. For a long moment, she said nothing. I have killed thousands, she said quietly. Entire armies have fallen before me. Planets have surrendered at the mention of my name. The Kethra are the most feared warriors in the galaxy. And I am the most feared among them. Jiwoo listened carefully. He could tell she was not bragging. She was simply telling him the truth. That sounds lonely, he said. Vera's eyes widened slightly. Of all the responses she had expected, that was clearly not one of them. Lonely? She repeated. Yes. Jiwoo picked up his spoon again. If everyone runs away from you, who do you eat dinner with? Vera opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked at Jiwoo like he was a puzzle she could not solve. The waiter peeked out from behind the counter. His eyes were wide with fear. Jiwoo waved at him. Can I get another bowl of this soup? He called out. And one for my friend here, too. The waiter's mouth fell open. Friend? Had the human just called the most dangerous being in the galaxy his friend? Vera looked at Jiwoo. Something shifted in her expression. The hardness in her eyes softened. Just a little. I do not eat human food, she said. Have you ever tried it? No. Then, how do you know you don't like it? Vera considered this. It was a simple question, but it seemed to catch her off guard. The waiter brought 2 bowls of soup, his hands shaking so badly that the liquid sloshed over the sides. He set them down and ran back to his hiding spot. Jiwoo pushed one bowl toward Vera. She looked at it suspiciously. It's just soup, Jiwoo said. It won't bite you. Vera picked up the spoon with one of her hands. It looked tiny in her grip. She brought it to her mouth and tasted the soup carefully. Her eyes widened. This is acceptable, she said. Jiwoo smiled. See? Not everything unknown is dangerous. Vera looked at him over the rim of the bowl. For the first time in many years, she did not feel like a monster. She felt like someone having a meal with a stranger, and somehow, that simple thing meant more than any battle she had ever won. She had lived for over 200 years. She had traveled to countless worlds and met countless species. She had seen bravery and cowardice, wisdom and foolishness, love and hatred, but she had never seen anything like Park Jiwoo. He was finishing his second bowl of soup, completely relaxed, as if sharing a meal with a Kethra warrior was the most normal thing in the universe. His shoulders were loose. His breathing was calm. There was no sweat on his forehead, no trembling in his hands. Vera had spent her entire life learning to read other beings. She could smell fear. She could hear a heartbeat quicken from across a room. She knew the exact moment when prey realized it was about to die, but Jiwoo showed none of these signs. His heartbeat was steady. His scent was clean. He simply sat there, eating his soup and occasionally making small comments about the weather on whatever planet he had last visited. It was infuriating and fascinating. Where are you going next? She asked. Jiwoo wiped his mouth with a cloth. I have cargo to deliver to a mining colony on Keras 4. Nothing exciting, just machine parts and medical supplies. You are a cargo hauler. Yes, that is a boring job. Jiwoo laughed. It was a warm sound. Open and honest. It is, he agreed. But I like boring. Boring means safe. Boring means quiet. After a long day, I can sit in my ship, look at the stars, and not worry about anyone trying to kill me. Vera tilted her head. Do humans often have people trying to kill them? Not usually. But space can be dangerous. Pirates. Accidents. Bad luck. He shrugged. I prefer to avoid all of that. Yet you did not avoid me. You are not a pirate or an accident. I am much worse. Jiwoo considered this. Maybe. But you haven't tried to kill me yet. So I figure we are doing okay. Vera did not know what to say to that. She was used to beings begging for their lives, offering her money or information or anything she wanted. She was used to silence filled with terror. She was not used to casual conversation. "I am going to follow you," she said suddenly. Ji-woo raised an eyebrow. "Follow me?" "Yes, to your ship, to this Karis 4. Why?" Vera crossed all four of her arms. "Because I do not understand you. And things I do not understand are either very dangerous or very interesting. I want to know which one you are." Ji-woo thought about it for a moment. Then he nodded. Okay. Vera had expected him to refuse, to make excuses, to try to escape. "Just like that? Sure, my ship is small, but there is room for two. And it gets lonely out there sometimes. Having someone to talk to might be nice." Vera stared at him. "You are inviting me onto your ship. Me. The most dangerous being you have ever met. You said you wanted to follow me. I am just making it easier for you." Ji-woo stood up and put some coins on the table. "Come on. I want to leave before the station traffic gets bad." He walked toward the door without looking back, without checking if she was following, without any concern at all. Vera sat there for a moment, completely confused. Then, slowly, she stood up and followed him. Ji-woo's ship was small and old. It was not ugly, but it was clearly built for function rather than beauty. The paint was faded, and there were patches on the hull where repairs had been made, but it was clean. And when Ji-woo opened the door, a wave of warm air came out. "Welcome to the Starling," he said. "It's not much, but it's home." Vera had to bend down to fit through the door. Inside, the ship was cramped but organized. There was a small cockpit at the front, a living area in the middle with a table and some chairs, and a sleeping area at the back with 2 bunks built into the wall. "You can take the top bunk," Ji-woo said. "I hope you don't mind the size. I wasn't expecting guests." Vera looked at the bunk. It was tiny. She would have to curl up to fit. "This is acceptable," she said. Ji-woo smiled and went to the cockpit to start the engines. Vera followed him and stood behind his chair. Watching as he pressed buttons and flipped switches, the ship hummed to life, and through the window, she could see the station beginning to move away. "How long until we reach Karis 4? She asked. "About 3 days. 3 days. In this small ship, with this strange human." Vera did not know what she was expecting to find, but she was determined to find it. Over the next 2 days, she watched Ji-woo carefully. She watched him eat breakfast, which was usually toast with some kind of fruit spread. She watched him work, checking cargo and running system tests on the ship. She watched him read books on a small tablet, stories about humans on Earth doing ordinary things, and she watched him sleep. This was the most confusing part. When Ji-woo went to bed, he simply closed his eyes and fell asleep within minutes. He did not lock his door. He did not set any alarms. He did not even keep a weapon nearby. He slept with his back to her. In Kethra culture, showing your back to someone was a sign of absolute trust or absolute foolishness. Vera had never met anyone who trusted her. She had certainly never met anyone foolish enough to sleep near her unprotected. On the second night, she sat in the darkness and listened to his breathing. It was slow and steady. The breathing of someone at complete peace. "Why do you sleep like that?" she asked quietly, not expecting an answer. But Ji-woo's voice came from the darkness. "Like what?" Vera tensed. She had not realized he was awake. "With your back to me," she said. "I could kill you in seconds. You would not even have time to scream." There was a pause. Then Ji-woo rolled over and looked at her. His eyes were soft with sleep, but there was no fear in them. "Could you?" he asked. "Yes, but you won't." "How do you know that?" Ji-woo was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Because you're lonely, Vera. I can see it in the way you look at things, in the way you listened when I talked about my home, in the way you tried the soup, even though you said you don't eat human food." Vera felt something tighten in her chest. "You're not here to kill me," Ji-woo continued. "You're here because you wanted someone to see you as something other than a monster. And I do." "What do you see?" Vera asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. I see someone who is very tired of being alone. The words hit Vera like a blow. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever looked past the scales and the claws and the reputation. She did not know what to say, so she said nothing. Jiwoo smiled gently and rolled back over. Good night, Vera. She sat in the darkness for a long time, listening to his breathing as he fell back asleep. Her hearts were beating fast, and her mind was full of thoughts she did not understand. For the first time in 200 years, Vera felt something other than emptiness. She felt seen. Karis 4 was not a beautiful place. It was a moon covered in gray dust and sharp rocks. The sky was always dark, and the air smelled like metal. Mining towers rose from the ground like broken teeth, and the only colors came from the flashing lights of machinery. Jiwoo landed the Starling at a small port on the edge of the main settlement. Through the window, Vera could see workers moving around, carrying heavy equipment and shouting orders to each other. They were mostly Dorvan, a species with tough gray skin and small eyes that could see in the dark. I need to deliver the cargo to the main warehouse, Jiwoo said, standing up from the pilot seat. It should only take a few hours. You can stay here if you want. I will come with you, Vera said. Jiwoo nodded and opened the cargo hold. Together, they loaded the crates onto a small transport vehicle. Vera could have carried all of them at once, but Jiwoo insisted on helping. She found this strange but did not complain. They drove through the settlement toward the warehouse. The streets were narrow and dirty, and the buildings looked old and tired. This was a place where people came to work and nothing else. There was no joy here, no life beyond survival. The warehouse was a large metal building at the center of the settlement. Jiwoo parked the transport outside and went to speak with the manager, a fat Dorvan with a permanent frown on his face. Vera waited by the transport, her eyes scanning the area. She noticed a group of aliens watching them from across the street. There were 5 of them, rough-looking and armed with weapons that they did not bother to hide. They were not Dorvan. They looked like Kreth, a species known for piracy and theft. One of them pointed at Jiwoo and said something to the others. They laughed. Vera's eyes narrowed. Jiwoo came back a few minutes later, holding a payment chip. All done, he said cheerfully. The manager was happy with the supplies. He even gave me a bonus because we arrived early. There are men watching us, Vera said quietly. Jiwoo glanced over his shoulder. He saw the group of Kreth, still staring at them. His expression did not change. I see them, he said. Let's just go back to the ship. They got into the transport and started driving back toward the port. But before they could reach it, another vehicle appeared in front of them, blocking the road. Vera looked behind them. A third vehicle had come from that direction, cutting off their escape. The Kreth climbed out of their vehicles, weapons drawn. Their leader was a tall alien with scars on his face and a metal arm that clicked and whirred as he walked. Human, the leader called out. Step out of the vehicle. We want your ship and your cargo. Jiwoo stopped the transport and turned off the engine. He looked at Vera. Stay here, he said. What? Just trust me. Before Vera could argue, Jiwoo stepped out of the transport. He walked toward the Kreth with his hands raised, showing that he had no weapons. Gentlemen, he said calmly, I think there has been a misunderstanding. I don't have any cargo left. I just delivered it all to the warehouse. The leader laughed. Then we will take your ship. It looks old, but it will fetch a good price. I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Jiwoo said. That ship is my home. It's all I have. The leader raised his weapon and pointed it at Jiwoo's face. Then you will die, with nothing. Vera moved. She did not remember deciding to act. One moment she was sitting in the transport, and the next she was standing between Jiwoo and the Kreth leader. Her scales had shifted, becoming darker and harder. Her claws were extended. Her eyes glowed bright amber in the dim light. The Kreth leader's confident smile vanished. His face went pale. Kethra, he stammered. Yes, Vera said. Her voice was cold and sharp like a blade. The other Kreth began to back away. Their weapons shook in their hands. One of them dropped his gun and ran without looking back. You are going to hurt my friend, Vera said softly. That was a mistake. The leader fell to his knees. Please, he begged. We didn't know. We didn't know she was with you. Please, have mercy. Vera looked down at him. She could kill him easily. One swipe of her claws, and he would be dead. It would be so simple. But then she felt a hand on her arm. Vera, Jiwoo said gently. It's okay. They're leaving. She looked at him. His eyes were calm, as always. There was no fear, no anger, no judgment. Just quiet, understanding. Vera took a deep breath. Her scales softened, her claws retracted. The glow in her eyes faded. Go, she said to the Kreeth, and never come back. They ran, all of them. Within seconds, the street was empty. Jiwoo smiled. Thank you. You should not have confronted them alone, Vera said. They could have killed you, maybe. But I wanted to try talking first. Why? You knew they would not listen, Jiwoo shrugged. Because fighting should be the last choice, not the first. My mother taught me that. She said that words can solve most problems if you give them a chance. Vera shook her head. Humans are strange, so I've been told. They got back into the transport and drove to the ship. The port was quiet, and no one bothered them. Word had already spread that a Kethra was on the moon. No one wanted to risk her anger. That night, they sat in the Starling's small living area. Jiwoo made tea, a human drink that Vera found bitter but strangely comforting. The warmth of the cup felt good against her scales. Can I ask you something? Jiwoo said. Yes. What is it like to be feared by everyone? Vera was silent for a long moment. She looked at the tea in her hands, watching the steam rise and disappear. It is empty, she said finally. When I was young, I thought fear was power. I thought that if everyone was afraid of me, I would be strong. I would be safe. No one could hurt me if they were too scared to come close. She paused. But I was wrong. Fear does not protect you. It isolates you. It builds walls that no one can cross. Not even you. Jiwoo listened quietly. I have not had a real conversation in 50 years, Vera continued. I have not shared a meal with anyone. I have not laughed or smiled or felt anything except the cold satisfaction of survival. I am alive, but I am not living. She looked at Jiwoo. Until I met you. What's different about me? Jiwoo asked. You are not afraid. Humans are afraid of many things, Jiwoo said. We fear death, pain, loneliness, failure. We fear the dark and the unknown. Fear is part of who we are. Then why don't you fear me? Jiwoo thought about it. Then he smiled. Because fear is just a feeling, he said. It tells us to be careful, but it doesn't have to control us. When I saw you in that cantina, I felt a moment of fear. You looked dangerous, powerful, but then I looked closer, and I saw something else. What did you see? Someone who was tired of being alone. Vera felt her throat tighten. How did you know? Because I've been alone too, Jiwoo said. 3 years in space, traveling from station to station, never staying anywhere long enough to make friends. I know what loneliness looks like, and I know that sometimes the scariest people are just the loneliest ones. Vera set down her tea. For the first time in many years, she felt something wet on her face. She touched her cheek and realized she was crying. She had forgotten that she could cry. Jiwoo reached out and took her hand. It was small and warm in her grip. You don't have to be alone anymore, he said. Vera could not speak, so she just held his hand and let the tears fall. 3 weeks had passed since they left Keras 4. Jiwoo had taken on a few more cargo jobs. Nothing dangerous or complicated. Vera had stayed with him for all of them. She helped load the crates, kept watch when they landed on unfamiliar worlds, and sat with him in the cockpit during the long journeys through space. She was changing. She could feel it. The coldness that had lived inside her for so long was slowly melting. She smiled more often now. She laughed at Jiwoo's terrible jokes. She had even started to enjoy human food, though she would never admit it out loud. For the first time in 200 years, Vera was happy, but happiness, she knew, never lasted. They were traveling through a quiet sector of space when the distress signal came. It was weak and broken, barely audible through the static. Help, attacked, please. Anyone. Jiwoo immediately changed course toward the signal. What are you doing? Vera asked. Someone needs help. It could be a trap. It could also be someone dying. Vera grabbed his arm. Jiwoo, listen to me. Distress signals are a common trick used by pirates and hunters. They lure in rescue ships and then attack them. I know, Jiwoo said. But I can't ignore it. What if it's real? What if someone is out there, hurt and scared, hoping that someone will come? Then they will die. It is not your responsibility. Jiwoo looked at her. His eyes were serious. Would you have said that 3 weeks ago? Before we met? Vera opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out. He was right. 3 weeks ago, she would not have cared about a stranger's distress signal. She would have ignored it and continued on her way. But Jiwoo had changed her. He had shown her that caring about others was not a weakness. It was a strength. Fine, she said. But I am coming with you. And if it is a trap, I will handle it. Jiwoo smiled. I wouldn't have it any other way. They followed the signal to a small asteroid field. Among the rocks, they found a damaged ship, floating motionless in the darkness. It looked like it had been attacked. There were burn marks on the hull, and broken pieces drifting nearby. Jiwoo docked the Starling next to the damaged ship and prepared to board. Stay behind me, Vera said. Okay? They opened the airlock and stepped into the other ship. The interior was dark and cold. Emergency lights flickered on and off, casting strange shadows on the walls. Hello? Jiwoo called out. Is anyone here? We received your distress signal. Hello? There was no answer. They moved deeper into the ship, checking each room they passed. Everything was empty. There were signs of a struggle, overturned furniture and scratch marks on the floor. But no bodies. Something is wrong, Vera said. Her scales had hardened, and her claws were ready. Then the lights went out. Vera heard footsteps, many of them, coming from all directions. She grabbed Jiwoo and pulled him close, her forearms forming a protective barrier around him. Lights suddenly flashed on, blinding and harsh. They were surrounded. At least 20 armed soldiers stood in a circle around them, weapons aimed and ready. And in front of them stood a massive alien. He was bigger than Vera, with gray skin covered in thick armor plates. His eyes were small and cruel, and his mouth was full of sharp teeth that showed when he smiled. Vera, the alien said. It has been a long time. Vera's blood went cold. Grath laughed. It was a deep, ugly sound. You remember me. I am flattered. How did you find me? I have been tracking you for years. You are not easy to follow, but I am patient. His eyes moved to Jiwoo. And who is this? Your pet? Vera stepped in front of Jiwoo. Leave him out of this. Your fight is with me. My fight is with anyone who stands with you. Grath walked closer, his heavy footsteps shaking the floor. Do you know why I have been hunting you, Vera? It is not for revenge. It is not for money. It is for glory. He spread his arms wide. You are the most feared warrior in the galaxy. When I kill you, that fear will belong to me. Your legend will become my legend. You are a fool, Vera said. I have killed hundreds like you. Yes, but you have never faced me. Grath nodded to his soldiers. Take them. The soldiers moved forward. Vera fought back, her claws slashing and her body twisting. She took down 3 of them in seconds. But there were too many. For every one she defeated, 2 more took their place, and she could not fight at full strength. She had to protect Jiwoo. A soldier grabbed Jiwoo from behind. Vera turned to help him. But that moment of distraction was all Grath needed. He swung his massive fist and hit her in the side of the head. Vera fell. The world spun around her. She tried to stand, but Grath kicked her back down. Pathetic, he said. The great Vera, brought low by caring about a weak little human. Don't hurt him, Vera said. Her voice was weak but fierce. Please. He has done nothing. Grath looked at her with surprise. Did you just say please? The Kethra warrior begging? He laughed again. This human has made you soft. He turned to his soldiers. Take them both to my ship. I want to execute her publicly. Let the whole galaxy see that Vera is dead. And Grath is the new king of fear. The soldiers dragged them away. Vera was too dazed to fight back. She could only watch as Jiwoo was bound and pulled along beside her. I'm sorry, she whispered to him. Jiwoo looked at her. Despite everything, despite the blood on his face and the ropes on his wrists, he managed to smile. It's not over yet, he said. Vera did not understand how he could still have hope. They were captured by one of the most dangerous warlords in the galaxy. They had no weapons, no allies, no way to escape, but something in Jiwoo's eyes made her believe him. Maybe it was foolish. Maybe it was that strange human stubbornness that she had come to admire. But for the first time in her life, Vera chose to have faith. They were thrown into separate cells on Grath's warship. The cells were small and dark, with thick metal bars that even Vera could not break. She could hear Jiwoo in the cell next to hers, but she could not see him. Jiwoo, she called out. Are you hurt? Just some bruises, he replied. Nothing serious. What about you? I will survive. There was a pause. Then Jiwoo said, Vera, I want you to know something. What? No matter what happens, I don't regret any of this. Meeting you, traveling with you, being your friend. It was worth it. Vera closed her eyes. Her heart ached. You should not have come with me, she said. You should have stayed on Station Vega 7, eating your soup in peace. Maybe, Jiwoo said. But then I would have missed out on the best 3 weeks of my life. Vera did not know what to say. No one had ever said anything like that to her. Get some rest, Jiwoo continued. We are going to need our strength. For what? For escaping. Jiwoo. There is no escape. Grath has an army. Then we will just have to be smarter than an army. Vera shook her head in the darkness. Humans were insane, absolutely insane. But as she lay there in her cell, she found herself smiling. If she was going to die, at least she would die knowing what it felt like to have a friend. Jiwoo did not sleep that night. He sat in his cell, thinking. His body hurt from the beating, and his wrists were raw from the ropes. But his mind was clear. He had been in difficult situations before. Not like this, of course. Nothing this dangerous. But he had learned long ago that the best way to solve a problem was to stay calm and look for opportunities. The cell was strong. The bars were thick metal, impossible to bend or break. The lock was electronic, controlled from somewhere else on the ship. There was no window, no vent, nothing he could use to escape on his own. But Jiwoo was not alone on this ship. In the early morning, a small alien came to bring him food. It was a creature Jiwoo had never seen before, barely reaching his waist, with thin arms and large sad eyes. Its skin was a pale blue, and it moved with a nervous shuffle, like it was afraid of everything around it. The alien pushed a tray of food through a slot in the bars. It was gray paste that smelled like nothing. Thank you, Jiwoo said. The alien froze. It looked up at Jiwoo with wide eyes, as if it could not believe what it had heard. What? Jiwoo asked gently. You thanked me, the alien said. Its voice was soft and shaky. Of course, you brought me food. That was kind of you. The alien blinked several times. No one has ever thanked me before. Jiwoo felt a pang of sadness. He looked at the alien more closely. It was wearing torn clothing, and there were bruises on its thin arms. Clearly, this creature was not treated well on this ship. What is your name? Jiwoo asked. The alien hesitated. Tico. Hello, Tico. I am Jiwoo. Tico glanced around nervously, as if afraid someone might see him talking to a prisoner. I should go. If they catch me talking to you, they will hurt me. Wait, Jiwoo said. Can I ask you something first? Tico paused. How long have you been on this ship? 3 years. Tico said quietly. Grath captured my ship. He killed everyone except me. He kept me because I am good at cleaning and cooking. I am not worth much, but I am useful. That must be very hard. Tico's eyes filled with tears. It is. Every day. I hope someone will come and save me. But no one ever does. No one cares about someone like me. Jiwoo reached through the bars and gently touched Tico's hand. The alien flinched but did not pull away. I care, Jiwoo said. Tico stared at him. The tears spilled down his blue cheeks. Why? He asked. You do not know me. Why would you care? Because everyone matters, Jiwoo said. It does not matter if you are strong or weak, big or small. Every life has value. Every person deserves kindness. Tico was silent for a long moment. Then he wiped his eyes with his sleeve. You are very strange, he said. So, I have been told. For the first time, a tiny smile appeared on Tico's face. It was small and fragile, but it was real. I have to go, Tico said. But I will come back tomorrow. I would like that. Tico hurried away, disappearing into the dark corridors of the ship. Jiwoo watched him go, already forming a plan in his mind. The next day, Tico returned with more food. This time, he stayed a little longer. Jiwoo asked him about his home, his family, his dreams. Tico talked about his planet, a small, peaceful world covered in flowers. He talked about his mother, who had made the best bread in their village. He talked about wanting to see the stars, which was why he had joined that ship in the first place. I wanted adventure, Tico said bitterly. I got slavery instead. It is not too late, Jiwoo said. You can still be free. Tico shook his head. There is no escape from Grath. He is too powerful, too cruel. What if I told you I had a plan? Tico's eyes went wide. A plan? But you are a prisoner. Yes. But I am also very stubborn. Jiwoo smiled. Tico, I need your help. I know it is dangerous, and I know you are scared. But if you help me, I promise I will take you away from here. I will take you somewhere safe. Tico trembled. If Grath finds out, he won't. We will be careful. Tico looked at Jiwoo for a long time. He saw no lies in the human's eyes. No tricks. No hidden motives. Just honest hope. What do you need me to do? Tico asked. Jiwoo explained his plan. It was simple but risky. Tico had access to most of the ship because of his cleaning duties. He could move through the corridors without attracting attention. He could unlock doors, disable alarms, and create distractions. But first, Jiwoo said, I need you to find out where they are keeping my friend. The Kethra woman, Tico gasped. The Kethra? She is here too? Yes. Her name is Vera. She is important to me. Tico nodded slowly. I know where she is. They put her in the high-security cell, near the execution chamber. Grath is planning to kill her tomorrow, in front of his entire crew. Jiwoo's stomach dropped. Tomorrow. They only had one day. Can you get me there? He asked. It will be difficult. There are many guards. Can you try? Tico took a deep breath. Then he nodded. For you, he said. Because you are the first person who has ever been kind to me. That night, Tico put the plan into action. He waited until most of the crew was asleep, then crept to Jiwoo's cell with a stolen keycard. The electronic lock beeped softly, and the bars slid open. Jiwoo stepped out and put his hand on Tico's shoulder. Thank you, he said. I will never forget this. They moved through the ship like shadows. Tico knew every corridor, every camera, every guard rotation. He led Jiwoo through maintenance tunnels and storage rooms, avoiding the main paths. Finally, they reached the high-security area. There was only one guard at the door, a large alien who was half asleep at his post. Wait here, Jiwoo whispered. He picked up a piece of metal from the floor and threw it down the corridor. It clanged loudly against the wall. The guard stood up, confused. He walked toward the sound, his weapon raised. As soon as he passed, Jiwoo slipped behind him and wrapped his arms around the guard's neck. The guard struggled, but Jiwoo held tight. Within seconds, the guard went limp. Jiwoo lowered him gently to the floor. He was not dead, just unconscious. Jiwoo did not like violence, but sometimes it was necessary. He took the guard's keycard and opened the door to the high-security area. Inside, there was only one cell, and inside that cell was Vera. She looked up when she heard the door open. Her eyes went wide. Jiwoo? He ran to her cell and used the keycard to unlock it. The bars slid open, and Vera stepped out. She looked tired and bruised, but there was fire in her eyes. "How?" she asked. "How did you escape?" Jiwoo pointed to Tico, who was peeking around the corner nervously. "I made a friend," Jiwoo said. Vera looked at the small alien. Then she looked back at Jiwoo. "You are impossible," she said. But there was warmth in her voice. "We need to go," Jiwoo said. "The execution is tomorrow. We don't have much time." Vera nodded. She turned to Tico. "Thank you, little one," she said. "I will not forget your bravery." Tico blushed a deep purple. Together, the three of them moved deeper into the ship. They had escaped their cells, but they were far from free. Grath's army was still between them and freedom, and Vera intended to make them regret ever hunting her. The alarm started screaming 5 minutes after they left the high-security area. Red lights flashed along the corridors, and a loud voice announced that the prisoners had escaped. "They know," Tico said, his voice shaking. "It does not matter," Vera said. Her scales had darkened, and her claws were fully extended. Let them come. She was no longer the tired prisoner from the cell. She was the Kethra warrior again, the one that entire armies feared. But this time, she was not fighting for money or reputation. She was fighting for something that mattered. She was fighting for her friends. Soldiers appeared at the end of the corridor. There were 6 of them, armed with energy rifles. They opened fire without warning. Vera moved like water. She dodged the first blast and closed the distance in 2 steps. Her claws sliced through the first soldier's weapon, then through his armor. He fell without a sound. The second soldier tried to aim at her, but she grabbed his arm with 2 of her hands and threw him into the third. The remaining 3 soldiers backed away, fear clear on their faces. "Run," Vera said. "Tell your friends that Vera is awake. Tell them to stay out of my way." They ran. Jiwoo watched from behind a corner, keeping Tico safe. He had seen Vera fight before, on Karis 4, but that had been brief. This was different. She was terrifying and beautiful at the same time, a force of nature wrapped in black scales. "Come," Vera said. "We need to reach the hangar bay." They moved through the ship as fast as they could. Tico led them through shortcuts he had learned during his years of cleaning. But the soldiers were everywhere now, and they could not avoid them all. Vera cut through anyone who stood in their path. She tried not to kill unless necessary, knocking soldiers unconscious when she could. But some of them gave her no choice. Jiwoo stayed close, helping where he could. He was not a fighter, but he was smart. When they reached a locked door, he found a way to open it. When they faced a security system, he figured out how to disable it. When soldiers tried to flank them, he warned Vera before they could attack. They made a good team. But Grath was waiting for them. They burst into the hangar bay, expecting to find ships they could steal. Instead, they found Grath standing in the middle of the empty space, alone. The ships had been moved. There was nowhere to go. "Did you think it would be that easy?" Grath asked. He was smiling, but there was no humor in it. "I knew you would head for the hangar. I cleared it just for you." Grath, behind them, soldiers poured in and blocked the exit. Dozens of them, all armed, all ready. Vera pushed Jiwoo and Tico behind her. "Stay back," she said. Grath laughed. "Protecting the weak again, Vera? That is what got you captured in the first place." "They are not weak," Vera said. "They are stronger than you will ever be." "Strong?" A human who cannot even hold a weapon? A servant who scrubs floors? Grath shook his head. You have lost your mind. He stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. His metal arm hummed with energy. Enough talking. I came here to kill you, and I will not wait any longer. He charged. Grath was fast for his size. He crossed the distance in seconds, his metal arm swinging toward Veyra's head. She blocked it with two of her arms, but the impact sent her sliding backward. He was strong, stronger than she expected. They fought in the center of the hangar, trading blows that echoed through the metal walls. Veyra was faster and more skilled, but Grath was bigger and heavier. Every time she cut him, he just laughed. Every time she knocked him down, he got back up, and she was tired. The days in the cell had weakened her. She had not eaten properly, had not rested. Her muscles burned, and her breath came in short gasps. Grath hit her in the stomach. She doubled over. He grabbed her by the throat and lifted her off the ground. This is the end, he said. Any last words? Veyra clawed at his hand, but her strength was fading. Dark spots appeared in her vision. Then she heard a voice. Hey! Grath turned. Jiwoo was standing a few meters away, holding something in his hands. It was a control panel, ripped from the wall. Let her go, Jiwoo said. Grath laughed. Or what? You will hit me with that box? No, Jiwoo said. But this box controls the hangar doors. He pressed a button. The massive doors behind Grath began to open. The cold darkness of space appeared, and air started rushing out. Warning alarms blared. The soldiers behind them scrambled to hold on to something. Grath's smile vanished. You fool, you will kill us all. Not all of us, Jiwoo said. Just you. He grabbed a metal bar bolted to the floor. Tico was already clinging to another one. Veyra was too weak to move, but Grath was still holding her by the throat. The pull of space was strong. Grath's feet slid on the floor. He dropped Veyra to grab onto something, but it was too late. The vacuum pulled him toward the open doors. He roared in anger, his massive body tumbling through the air. His metal arm clawed at the floor, leaving deep scratches, but he could not stop. With one final scream, Grath was sucked out into space. The doors slammed shut behind him, and the emergency systems kicked in, sealing the breach. Silence. Jiwoo released the bar and ran to Veyra. She was lying on the floor, gasping for breath. He knelt beside her and lifted her head. Veyra? Veyra, can you hear me? Her eyes opened slowly. They focused on his face. You vented him into space, she said. Yes. That was insane. I know. A weak laugh escaped her throat. You could have died. So could you. Jiwoo helped her sit up. But we didn't. We made it. The soldiers in the hangar were in chaos. Their leader was gone, and they had no idea what to do. Some of them were already running away, disappearing into the ship's corridors. Tico tugged at Jiwoo's sleeve. There is a small shuttle in the maintenance bay. They use it for repairs. It might still be there. Can you get us to it? Yes. They moved quickly. Veyra was weak, so Jiwoo supported her with one arm, while Tico led the way. No one tried to stop them. The ship was falling apart without Grath to command it. The maintenance shuttle was there, just as Tico had promised. It was small and ugly, barely more than a box with engines, but it would fly. Jiwoo helped Veyra into a seat and strapped her in. Tico climbed into the pilot's chair. Do you know how to fly this? Jiwoo asked. Tico nodded. I watched the mechanics many times. I think I can do it. Good enough for me. The shuttle launched from the warship and shot into space. Through the window, they could see Grath's ship growing smaller and smaller. Soon, it was just a dot among the stars. Veyra watched it disappear. Her body ached, and her throat still burned from Grath's grip. But she was alive. They were all alive. She turned to look at Jiwoo. He was sitting beside her, his face tired but calm. You saved my life, she said. You saved mine first, he replied. Many times. But this was different. You risked everything. You could have escaped alone. But you came back for me. Jiwoo smiled. That is what friends do. Vera felt her heart swell with emotion. She reached out and took his hand. Thank you, she said, for everything. Jiwoo squeezed her hand gently. Thank you for giving me something worth fighting for. The shuttle flew on through the endless dark, carrying 3 survivors toward a new beginning. Behind them, the warship drifted, leaderless and broken. And somewhere in the cold void of space, the legend of Grath ended forever. 6 months had passed since the escape from Grath's warship. The Starling had been recovered from the asteroid field, where they had been captured. It took some repairs, but Jiwoo had brought it back to life. The old ship flew better than ever now, its engines humming with a steady rhythm that felt like a heartbeat. Tico had stayed with them. He had nowhere else to go, and Jiwoo had refused to leave him behind. The small alien had found a place on the ship, helping with cooking and repairs. He was still nervous and shy, but he smiled more often now. Sometimes, Jiwoo heard him singing quietly while he worked. And Vera had changed. She no longer wore her old armor, the one covered in scratches and marks from countless battles. Jiwoo had helped her find something new. Something lighter. She said it was more comfortable, but Jiwoo knew the truth. She was letting go of her past. The galaxy still talked about her. News of Grath's death had spread quickly. Some said that Vera had killed him in single combat. Others said she had an army of humans behind her. The stories grew stranger with each telling, but the fear was different now. It was mixed with something else. Curiosity, wonder, respect. People still kept their distance when Vera entered a room, but some of them nodded at her. A few even smiled. They were not as afraid as they used to be. Vera did not care about any of it. She had found something more valuable than fear or reputation. She had found a home. One evening, the 3 of them sat in the Starling's living area. Jiwoo had made dinner. A simple meal of rice and vegetables with some meat that he had bought at the last station. Tico ate happily, his small hands struggling with the human chopsticks that Jiwoo had given him. Vera watched them both, a warm feeling spreading through her chest. This was her family now. Not by blood, but by choice. And that made it even more precious. Jiwoo, she said. He looked up from his meal. Yes? Can I ask you something? Of course. She set down her chopsticks and looked at him seriously. Why weren't you afraid of me? Back on Station Vega 7, when we first met, you said you didn't know enough about me to be afraid, but that is not true. You could see what I was. You knew I was dangerous. Jiwoo thought about the question. He had asked himself the same thing many times over the past months. I was afraid, he admitted. Just a little. When you walked into that cantina, I felt my heart beat faster. I knew you were something powerful and deadly. Vera frowned. Then why did you stay? Because fear is just a feeling, Jiwoo said. It comes and goes. It tells us to be careful, but it does not have to control us. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Humans have always been afraid of things. The dark, the unknown, death itself. We are a species that fears almost everything. But you do not act like it, Vera said. That is because we have learned to live with fear. It is always there, like background noise. We hear it, we feel it, but we do not let it stop us. We still walk into the dark, we still explore the unknown, we still face death, even when we know we cannot win. Jiwoo smiled softly. When I saw you, I felt fear. But then I looked at you more closely. I saw someone sitting alone while everyone ran away. I saw someone who looked tired, someone who looked lonely, and I thought, maybe she is not a monster. Maybe she is just someone who needs a friend. Vera was silent. Her amber eyes glistened in the soft light of the ship. I was right, wasn't I? Jiwoo asked gently. Vera nodded slowly. Yes. You were right. Tico had stopped eating. He watched them both with his large, sad eyes. Humans are very strange, he said quietly. Jiwoo laughed. So I have been told. I think it is a good kind of strange, Tico continued. The galaxy needs more strange like this. Vera reached out and ruffled the small alien's hair. He squeaked in surprise, but did not pull away. The galaxy has enough problems, she said. But maybe we can help fix a few of them. Jiwoo raised his cup of tea. To fixing problems. Vera raised her cup. To finding friends. Tico raised his, nearly spilling it. To not being alone anymore. They drank together, and the ship flew on through the stars. Later that night, Vera stood alone in the cockpit. The lights were dim, and the window showed an endless field of stars. Each one was a sun, surrounded by planets, filled with beings she would never meet. She thought about her life before Jiwoo. The battles, the kills, the long, empty years of being feared and hated and alone. She thought about the moment she walked into that cantina and saw a human who did not run. She thought about soup and tea and laughter, about kindness given without expectation, about being seen for who she truly was, not what she could do. Footsteps came from behind her. Jiwoo appeared at her side and stood next to her, looking out at the stars. Can't sleep? He asked. No, my mind is too full. Full of what? Vera turned to look at him. In the starlight, his face looked peaceful and kind. He was not handsome by Kethra standards. He was small and soft and breakable. But to her, he was the most beautiful being she had ever known. Gratitude, she said. I am full of gratitude. Jiwoo smiled. For what? For you. For Tico. For this ship and these stars and this feeling in my chest that I do not have a word for. I think humans call it happiness, Jiwoo said. Happiness. Vera tested the word. Yes, I think that is it. She reached out and took his hand. He did not pull away. Jiwoo, I want to tell you something. What is it? She took a deep breath. In my 200 years of life, I have never felt this way before. I have never had a home. I have never had a family. I have never had anyone who cared about me. Not for my strength or my reputation, but just for me. She squeezed his hand. You gave me all of those things. You saw something in me that no one else saw. You believed in me when I did not believe in myself. And She stopped, struggling to find the right words. I do not know how to repay you. I do not know how to show you what you mean to me. But I promise you this. I will spend the rest of my life trying. Jiwoo looked at her with soft eyes. Then he stepped closer and wrapped his arms around her. It was awkward, because she was so much taller. But he managed. You do not owe me anything, he said. Being your friend is enough. Vera stood frozen for a moment. No one had ever hugged her before. She did not know what to do with her 4 arms. Slowly, carefully, she wrapped them around Jiwoo and held him close. He was warm against her scales. His heartbeat was steady and calm. They stood like that for a long time. 2 beings from different worlds, holding on to each other in the vastness of space. Vera? Jiwoo said. Yes? I'm glad you sat down at my table that day. Vera smiled. A real smile. One that reached her eyes and warmed her hearts. So am I, she said. Outside the window, the stars continued their endless journey. Somewhere out there, worlds were being born and dying. Wars were being fought and ended. Beings were living and loving and losing. But here, in this small ship called the Starling, 3 unlikely friends had found something rare and precious. They had found each other. And in a galaxy that had taught her only to be feared, Jiwoo had taught Vera something far more powerful. He had taught her to be known, to be accepted, to be loved. And that was worth more than all the fear in the universe.